Do you find you're always hungry these days?
I do. It's so odd.
It's probably having to lift all those rocks.
But I'm lifting them with magic.
The energy still has to come from somewhere.
Are you doing all right, Rook? Don't forget to take breaks, okay?
Okay, Tosh. Can't believe I'm asking this, but what's wrong with Hassan's spore?
They're watery and smell sour. He needs fiber to soak up water and keep his gut clean.
And you know how Griffin's spore should smell because...
I've smelled it in dragons who got injured and couldn't eat right.
Huh. Say you're right. What would you give him?
Apples, carrots, sweet potatoes, maybe pumpkin.
Hassan goes for meat and gingerwort truffles. Doesn't matter how hard I try, he doesn't like vegetables.
Nobody likes vegetables. You still gotta eat them.
What's your place like? I mean, the one in Minrathis.
Also filled with notes. Make this room smaller, stick a cooking plate in the corner, and you're almost there.
Well met, Rook.
How did you get here?
I did tell you I had my ways through Illuvians when I introduced you to the Inquisitor, did I not?
The Illuvians in general, yes, but not the Dreadwolf's Crossroads.
I would think you have more pressing questions at the moment. Questions about Solus and Mythal?
Mythal?
The two gods have always been linked, have they not? First, when Mythal bade her companion spirit to abandon the Fade and take on mortal form. Then, when Solus spilled Mythal's mortal blood, that he might absorb her power as his own.
Wait, how do you know exactly what we saw of Solus's past?
Think upon it, Rook. You saw for yourself in the Dreadwolf's memories. When Mythal stood against the gods' manipulations of the Blight, she was betrayed and struck down. Yet she survived and returned ages later to aid the Inquisition in its hour of need. How?
The Elven gods had access to magic beyond anything we can imagine?
To be sure, but it matters less what they possessed than what they were. You recall that the first elves were spirits, do you not? Mythal was a spirit turned elven. And when her body was struck down, to spirit she returned. Her essence sheltered in a willing mortal vessel. Over the centuries, she journeyed from host to host, slowly amassing her former power anew. Until once again she was struck down, on this occasion by Solus. He absorbed her power, but not her memories.
Then where did they... Wait. You?
As you say.
You're Mythal? That's why the ambient magic around you is so fractured.
Such a flattering picture you paint of this ancient bond.
What? That was like how Elgernon and Gillinan can talk in your head, but...
'Twas Mythal you heard, her echoes. Yet I am not the goddess returned.
What are you, then?
I once feared Mythal would consume me were I to carry her, but 'twas not so. I remained free-willed and mortal. What I now possess is but a spark of Mythal, shadowed memories through which to sift for meaning. As to our admixture, I suspect you have questions.
So, there's the soul of an elven god inside you. How does that even happen?
Mythal's last host was my mother, Flemeth.
Oh.
When I learned she intended me to become the next receptacle of an ancient god's soul, I feared naught would be left of my own. It inevitably came to pass on a deep night. I was awakened by the presence of a blaze of magic in the shape of a woman who both was and was not my mother.
This isn't the strangest thing I've heard, but it's close.
'Tis difficult to describe, even now. Mathal's memories were both gift and burden, this blazing woman told me, but I must accept them of my own accord. The decision was paralyzing. What would it mean to become such a host? What would be lost if I refused? In the end, 'twas something in my mother's voice which guided me.
What was that?
Regret. Not the regret of a god, but of a mother who knew she would never see me again. And so, my mind remains my own. What I gained was knowledge, both Mathal's and of those who bore her.
How can you carry Mathal's soul if you're not an elf?
Her spark has sheltered within both elves and humans who were sympathetic to her in thought and circumstance. Mathal's last host was a woman wronged, trapped by those sworn to love her. We may readily imagine their kinship.
You would have met Solus in the Inquisition, right?
I did indeed. 'Twas before I possessed Mathal's memories. At the time, I thought Solus a scowling elven apostate whose sole passion was finding arguments. He heard me, in all my ignorance, expound on the histories of the elven people, explaining legends he had witnessed himself.
Bet he loved that.
'Tis not a memory that brings me pride.
Do you have information we can use against Gillenane or Elganon? Or Solus?
The last time Mathal faced Elganon and Gillenane, she was struck down by the very dagger you now carry.
What about Solus?
You may recall he murdered Mathal's former host to claim her godly might as his own. I hoard no untapped magical secrets, Rook. What I do possess, I share freely with you and the Veil Jumpers.
All right. You didn't come out here just to tell me you're Mathal.
I am not Mathal in her entirety, but yes, the Dreadwolf has occasion to visit you in dreams, where he portions out advice. And now, after finding his memories, you have peered into his deepest sorrows. Tell me then, what do you make of Solus?
I should ask you. Mathal knew Solus better than anyone.
I would influence your answer. Or do you mean to discover if I would stand directly against the Dread Wolf, were there a need?
Would you?
I shall aid you in any way but that, even had I the power. What has passed between Solus and Mathal? I beg you, do not ask this of me again.
Solus talks a lot about what has to be done, being forced to make hard choices. But it's like he's trying to talk himself into it. I think, deep down, he doesn't entirely believe what he's saying.
'Tis exactly like the old wolf to tie himself into the most intricate knots. 'Tis not malice which made Solus your opponent, but conviction, a belief that only he may halt what he set in motion. Yet Solus was once beloved of Mathal. 'Tis his very loyalty and love for his people that led to the tragedy we now face. You may be in a position to determine how it ends, more so than either of you might realize.
If that's what it takes.
Such determination. Have you not even a tremor of doubt?
Wouldn't do me any good.
If you would shape the outcome of your battle, I've one last secret to share. When Mythal was struck down by the other gods, it was with her own lyrium dagger, the dagger you now carry. Solus recovered it from Elganon, and from it extracted a fragment of Mythal that had lain hidden within its depths. This fragment, a younger sister to the one I carry, if you will, resides here, in the crossroads. I can open the way for you. Find her, survive the encounter, and the essence you obtain will aid you in times to come.
Another fragment of Mythal? In addition to the one inside you?
You are aware of what the word fragment means, are you not? One small piece of many, formed when something greater is broken. The first elves were spirits, as you well know, and when a spirit is broken, it may shatter into pieces, each holding part of the original. Among the ancient elves who became known as gods, Dirthaman and his brother, Falondine, are but one example.
All that sounded great until survived the encounter.
You know Solus, and have seen Elganon, and memories of Mythal. They are creatures of emotion, as all spirits are. The fragment of Mythal that resides in me lived among mortals for thousands of years. She has grown wiser and more patient. This younger sister has not. She is the essence of Mythal as a god. She is unlikely to listen to polite requests, and though she is but a fragment of the goddess, the battle will test you sorely.
If she's just going to attack us, why tell us about her at all? We have enough enemies already.
A fragment of a god's essence is a powerful thing. It may give you options against Elganon and Gillenane, or against the Dreadwolf himself, should he prove as cunning and treacherous as ever.
What kind of spirit was Mythal before she became an elf? I know Solus is elven for pride.
Mythal enjoyed ruling and having power, but it came not from the overweening desire to crush resistance, as is the case with Elganon. The emotion that inspired her might best be described as benevolence, a guiding hand inclined to kindness. But like any spirit, when angered or twisted against her purpose, a more violent aspect arose. Where the Dreadwolf's wisdom gave way to pride when the world did not meet his standards, Mythal's benevolence gave way to retribution. After all, when kindness fails, the guilty must be punished.
You would know this aspect of Mythal better than anyone. Could you try talking to her?
I dare say she would attack me on sight.
Spirits can't get along with fragments of each other?
Spirits, certainly, but the aspects of a self-righteous god who have walked different paths for ages? One bears the insult of her betrayal by the Evanurus, and then by Solus, as fresh wounds, insult upon injury. The other once fell in love with an Alamari chieftain and lived happily in a swamp for centuries. Each reminds the other that another path existed, that they could have been wrong, and nothing angers Mythal like being wrong.
If I were to try to talk with her, do you have any suggestions?
She will demand respect, but detest flattery. She appreciates righteous anger, but will not tolerate pity. She is, for want of better phrasing, prickly. But if you are determined to try, then I wish you luck.
Thank you for the information, Morgan.
I only ask that you reflect upon what I have said. The Dreadwolf is not so apart from the world as he thinks. There, you have the advantage of him.
A god's fragment, sharper than the whole. Prevail, or be sundered completely.
We're getting close to where Morgan said that other fragment of Mythal was. That has to be her.
Do you believe she'll be willing to speak with us? Or are we bound for violence?
Guess we'll find out.
You are Rook. I have seen you and your companions. We made ourselves bodies to be like humans, but I never expected to see humans scurrying about in the Dread Wolf's crossroads. And you know who I am?
Mythal.
The part of me that survived betrayal by the rest of the Evanuris, if this can be called surviving. Solas. He drew me from the dagger that struck me down, but what is left of me can only survive here. I cannot return to the world, and even the true Fade is denied me. All I can do is watch. Why are you here? To beg me to give up what remains of myself to help you defeat the monsters Elganan and Gillenane have become? Or do you simply think yourself ready to fight a god?
Morgan was right. Talking to you is a waste of time.
You listen to the human and the cowardly echo she carries. Pathetic. You desire the essence of a god and think you deserve it. Then take it if you can!
Everyone, get ready!
Here we go.
Everyone, get ready! The draconic form is quite...
Everyone, get ready!
The draconic form is quite formidable.
Turn from justice, it turns toward you.
So, Nev, I know our powers are different.
This should be interesting.
It's nothing interesting. Just... please tell me you messed up sometimes.
Still do. Sometimes it's even magic-related.
That's good to hear. Thanks.
Sure. And there's no reason you asked.
Not anymore.
Hey, I think you were right about Hassan's gut issues. I got him to start eating carrots. He seems to have more energy.
Good.
He also crapped out some orange spore the size of a dinner plate in Emmerich's room.
Nice! Good, Griffin.
Are you doing all right, Rook?
Thanks again for dinner last night, Lucanus. That cream sauce!
A little mustard makes the difference. Though, my supplier in Treviso is...
Oh, so... Hey, what's the best thing you've ever eaten? Something fancy?
We ate a prisoner's nightmare. He dreamed a bloodthirsty tree with 10,000 branches.
Aye, she was asking me, Spite.
How fares your battle?
The gods are moving against Weishaupt and the Grey Wardens. We've heard rumors the Darkspawn are being led by an archdemon.
And you have questions?
I need to know how archdemons relate to the gods. Are they just like the Blooded Dragons, or are they something else? I also need to know how to deal with the gods if they show up at Weishaupt.
I propose a bargain. I will answer your question if you answer mine.
What?
How are the Grey Wardens? Do they understand the truth of the danger yet?
No, the First Warden still refuses to listen.
As I feared.
I tried diplomacy. I tried being firm. Nothing worked.
When I asked you why you should be trusted to lead the fight, you said you were no stranger to fighting stronger opponents. That sufficed for me. But the Grey Wardens fight Darkspawn and Archdemons, foes no one else can stand against. They see themselves as the best prepared for this battle. You cannot defeat Elganan and Gillenane without the Wardens. What will you do to bring them to your side?
I don't have to convince all of them. I just have to convince the First Warden.
Or remove him.
Enjoyable as that is to imagine, I doubt the rest of the Wardens would approve.
Did you know the Evanurus once numbered many more than those whose names survived in the Elven Pantheon? One warlord was particularly cruel. I sought to free his slaves, but so fearsome was his reputation that none would join me.
What did you do?
I made people laugh at him.
How did that help?
For 12 years. Every sound near him, from whispered pleas to shouted oaths to crackling fire, all became mocking laughter. His mind broke under the ridicule, and when he fell, his slaves rose up and joined me.
I doubt laughter is going to work on the First Warden.
If not that, then what?
Whatever it takes.
Easily said. But it will have to be enough for now. You have answered my question, and I owe you an answer in return.
Yes. The old gods of Tevinter. The archdemons.
There never were Tevinter gods. The archdemons, as you call them, were always merely the weapons of the Evanurus.
Alright, let's hope we can find the gods before they find their weapons.
Unfortunately, the Dragon Thrall's life force is bound to the Evanurus as both power and protection. You will not be able to kill or likely even harm one of the Evanurus until their Dragon Thrall is slain.
What can you tell me about the archdemons themselves?
Each is different, shaped by the whims and ego of its master. Elganan is the Lord of Tyranny. He would have ruled alone had Mythal not forced him to share power. Those who are strong, he molds into dictators themselves, with visions of godhood. Those who are weak, he crushes. His archdemon reflects him. It is huge, to feed his ego, the epitome of dragonkind, bent to his will.
Damn. Tell me what you really think of the guy.
He is cruelty and arrogance personified. All of the Evanurus were flawed, but he made all of them worse. By contrast, Gillenane was a servant of Andrew, whose skill at making monsters earned her promotion to the Evanurus. She is brilliant, ambitious, and unconstrained by anything you would understand as morality. In a kinder world, you would never need to see what she has done to her archdemon. In this world, I only hope you kill it quickly. In any event, the Evanurus will not be vulnerable until their archdemons are dead.
It says a lot about these talks that kill an archdemon is the easy part.
It will not be easy. But you are this world's only hope. I would not suggest this path if I did not believe you could succeed.
Aww, the God of Lies believes in me.
Even with their dragons dead, the Evanuris are powerful and well protected. You will need to use my dagger, the one you recovered. It can pierce their enchantments and strike them down.
Alright, kill the archdemons, then use the dagger to take down the gods.
Even a single opportunity to strike the Evanuris down will be rare, fleeting, and costly. You will not have another chance to catch them unawares. When you strike, you must be fully prepared.
Rook, when's the last time you slept?
I hope we can help Harding discover more about the source of her magic. She puts on a brave face, Rook, but I can tell when she worries.
What brings you to my room?
Rook, good to see you.
Looking for something?
How do all of Emmeric's pens end up in here?
Rook,